Thank you, Sandhya. Good morning, all, and a very warm welcome to this special session on conducting the conducting AGMs amidst the various COVID pandemic restrictions. Sandhya, thank you also for the introduction. And as a part of the governing council and being the joint secretary, I've had the opportunity to be present and interact across all the BAF 23 clusters, whom we connect on WhatsApp on a day-to-day basis, and various queries that come up, which apart from other association and COVID-related issues, AGM, how to conduct an AGM has been a very important point of discussion. And I see this query coming up every other day across all clusters and also receive quite a few calls. Now this has been going on since, April, May, when the first of the queries started. And that is the time when myself, along with other governing council members, Vikram and Arun, and Mr. Nagaraj Rao, our president, we have all been pursuing with various government departments, which is, the registrar of societies, the registrar of cooperative societies, the cooperation department, as well as the ministry of, the principal secretary of UDD. And these are the various departments which we have been in touch with, as also some of the special activists or experts who are working on these various acts and trying to understand how to conduct an AGM in this context, in today's pandemic context. With all those inputs, we also went to some of the lawyers for their own opinions. And based on that, in absence of any other government guidance, we prepared this knowledge paper, and that is published on June 18. So I guess that is the very initial, that's the month where most of the AGM start. And post that, I see that quite a few members have been able to hold their own AGMs based on the guidance provided, and also have been reaching out to us to get any clarifications on that, and we've been able to help our members. So in that, as we have gone through it, we have now over last 2 months received various inputs from the members who have actually executed and held the AGMs. And today I'm very happy to have put forth, all these views of the members, their implementation and execution of the AGM in their own apartments. And I'm very happy to see that they have come on to today's session to share their experiences. So without going into any other details, question answer session, I'll definitely be there to support all the other panel members also in terms of any questions that would be arising. But I'm pretty sure that with the 4 members who are going to present, they will definitely be doing a lot of justice. There will be a lot of takeaways. So I would request all members to please do pay attention to all their experiences. And over to you, Sandhya, and the next speaker. I welcome all the speakers too. Thank you for being on this panel.
Thank you, Vidya. On to the next speaker, Mr. Hemant Pai from Century Saras. Mr. Hemant has been a secretary and a treasurer at Century Saras and a current member of BAF North 1 cluster. He's a practicing chartered accountant and heads a consulting firm advising in financial and regulatory matters. Century Saras is situated in Yelahanka and has recently installed an advanced solar rooftop power plant. I'm sure there'll be a lot of queries on that, Hemant. Probably we should take up another session just to address those solar issues. So, yeah, on to you, Hemant. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sandhya, for the introduction. So we started evaluating about how to conduct AGM sometime in the month of April, only because as our bylaws state that the AGM has to be conducted by June end. But during the last AGM, we had resolved that AGM will be conducted before May of every year, so as to have a good accounting practice. There is no spillover in the next financial year. But we couldn't conduct AGM, virtual or otherwise, by May because we were at the peak of COVID-19 lockdown. But we started evaluating what are the options available for conducting AGM by July or August, right back in May. So why conduct AGM even when there is a lockdown? So we had four reasons. So one was our bylaw stated that it has to be done by July, and previously also resolved in the previous AGM. Also, Karnataka Apartment Ownership Act. So I'll be restricting to only Karnataka Apartment Ownership Act because our association is registered under KO Act. Then the third was, as I already said, there's accounting practice. It's a good practice to have an AGM as soon as possible, so that you have at a maximum only 2 months in the next financial year. Also, the current MC, I think most of the MC members will agree that they just want to hand over to the next MC and move on. So all these reasons, we wanted to have an AGM at the earliest. Now the next process was, now once we decided that we have to do AGM, we have to conduct AGM even in this scenario, how to go about it. So what we did was we formulated a detailed document. I'll just share that with you. Is it visible?
Not yet. But yeah, now we can see.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, now we can see it.
Yeah. So this is the procedure what we followed before we conducted the AGM. So the MC meeting was called, and the pros and cons of conducting virtual AGM were deliberated. So this was all recorded in the minutes, and the minutes were very, very specific, both the pros and cons. We also discussed hybrid, but for our apartment, the hybrid was not feasible. I think there's some other speaker will talk about hybrid AGM. So the MC decided that we are going to conduct only virtual AGM, and then there were some ambiguities in our bylaws, and also the act is not very specific on uh, virtual AGM. So there are some ambiguities, and it's open to interpretation. So the MC decided that we will get a specific legal opinion specific to our apartment, who will evaluate the bylaws and the KOA Act, and give us a written legal opinion, which will be shared with the members. Now we had two options. One, once we receive the legal opinion which says that we can conduct a virtual AGM, either we take the approval of the members in advance that virtual AGM can be done, or we ratify this process when the AGM is called virtually. So we went for the latter, only for convenience. We can also take prior approval for conducting virtual AGM. So the specific queries that were sent to the lawyer, I think I'm getting some messages. Okay. So the specific queries that were sent to the lawyer for legal opinion was whether the bylaws and KOA Act permit conducting AGM through virtual means. I'm sure none of the bylaws will have a specific clause which permits virtual AGM. So this was our first query. And second query was, are there any specific guidelines to conduct AGM through virtual means? So we got a legal opinion. Although KOA Act does not specify anything, KOA Act only says that this clause 16(2)(b) of KOA Act states that the method of calling meetings of apartments, what percentage shall be provided by the bylaws. So the KOA Act basically delegates this process of conducting meetings to the bylaws. And since our bylaws did not have anything specific on virtual AGMs, so we had to take a legal opinion. Then the second query was, if there is nothing specific, are there any guidelines maybe issued by the concerned department, or any other advisories from which we can draw inference or a reasoning that virtually we can do a AGM? So what we got to know was, for KOA Act there were no specific guidelines issued by any government authority. However, we drew parity of reasoning from other government authorities such as MCA and other government organizations that have been conducting their business virtually. So we imported the same reasoning into KOA Act, and our other contention was that the KOA Act does not specifically prohibit virtually. So we went ahead with this interpretation that we can have a AGM done virtually. And then this legal opinion was presented to members during the AGM, and fortunately there was no opposition, and unanimously it was ratified in the AGM. That was the first business that it is resolved that conducting of AGM virtually through Zoom as per the annexed SOP is hereby ratified. So we ratified the process of conducting before getting into any other business during the AGM. And there was also a slight delay in conducting the AGM, because in our last AGM we had resolved that the AGM will be conducted by May, and we conducted it in July. So there was some delay. So we ratified that delay also. And apart from that, all other requirements as per bylaw as to sending the advance notice and the agenda, all that was followed. So apart from this, what we got from our lawyer was that how do we ensure that all the concerns about conducting a virtual AGM is addressed. So what we did was, we ensured that there is a good technological platform, and we have an SOP, that we make an SOP that tries to mitigate the risk of somebody not getting a chance to speak, or they are not able to discuss all the issues properly, to a minimal level. The virtual platform has its own limitation. There are some limitations which we cannot overcome, but what we tried to do was, we had an SOP which reduced the risk to a acceptable level. And the SOP also stated how the attendance will be recorded and how the e-voting will take place. And fortunately for us, we went for Zoom Pro platform. I'm not going to give much details on that. I think some other speaker will talk on how to do it. But we went for Zoom, and even the e-voting for all the resolutions was conducted through Zoom. And we were able to identify the members and proxies. So we had 3 moderators who recorded the attendance, who identified the members by way of, they asked the members, whoever is joining fresh, they asked them to identify through video. And once they were identified, they were let inside. If there was some suspicious participation or member is not able to identify, we removed such members. Apart from this, we also had additional facility for senior citizens, or people who are not so well versed with Zoom or any other virtual platform. We ensured that if somebody is having any difficulty in how to log in, the MC was asked to make suitable arrangements for such people to join the meeting virtually. So it can be done by having a common laptop in a clubhouse or some other place, and ensure that whoever wants to join, they have all the facilities to join. Hello?
Yeah, Hemant.
Yeah, I'll be answering any questions, I think, later.
Sure.
I'm done with my presentation.
Okay, just 1 second. sorry, just our next speaker is Srinath Ramanujan.
Can the speaker please share that SOP document that was referenced? Is that what would be possible, Vidya?
Hemant?
Yeah, I have noted. I have noted this. Hemant, maybe in the panel discussion, QA session, we will take that up and we'll share what we can. Yeah.
So our next speaker is Mr. Srinath Ramanujan, who's a cross-function leader experienced at building. He currently works with Bayer Corp Science, is an advisor to a agri-finance and agri-tech startup. He has been a treasurer of Shobha Murzaria Grandeur Apartments for about a year now. This is his first experience into apartment societies. He is from the BTM cluster. Srinath, on to you.
Thanks, Sandhya, for that kind introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be part of this forum and talk about our virtual AGM. And thanks also to Mukund, our secretary here, for passing my name along. Right. I hope you all can see my screen where I put up a small presentation of the talking points.
Yes, we can.
Is that visible?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
Great. So I'll first start with what usually happens in our AGM. Otherwise, so we usually would host it in the clubhouse that can seat about 50 of us comfortably, and the attendance usually we have about 40 to 60 owners. And in terms of the time spent, we spend about 10 to 15% of the time on the previous year's financials. And this, again, takes a lot less time because the secretary sends out these financials well in advance and we all get to check that out. We spend around 60 to 70% of the time on budget and upcoming projects. So there is a lot of to and fro, a lot of questions. And then, if there are elections, we spend some time on that, right? So that's the broader context. And then if we just look at this year, the need to have a virtual AGM, just like everyone else, is for precautionary methods during the COVID-19 time. Also, because we couldn't really accommodate a lot of people, even if we had to do a physical AGM or a hybrid AGM with the sort of social distancing measures that we need to follow, right? And so then we started looking at options, and we really had two in our hand, because those are the ones which we were comfortable with Zoom and Google Meet. But we also wanted to ensure that this virtual AGM is recorded. So we wanted to look at anything which has an option of 120 minutes or higher of recording. And so we just went ahead with a Google Meet invite from a corporate account which has recording. And we sent the links and the invites about 10 days in advance, right? And those who have a Google account with the same email ID could, join the meeting themselves. There is no need to accept or, let them enter the meeting. Versus those who joined anonymously or through other emails, they had to be accepted into the meeting, right? So quickly moving on to, the various challenges and issues, right? First thing is the outcome. We had a quite successful AGM. I think everyone liked it. Now, in terms of some of the expected challenges, we had, first of all, the attendance bit. I think we did a lot of pre-work on this. Now, the AGM attendance has a lot of statutory limitations. So first thing is, of course, we ensured we had a full recording of the meeting just in case there was any question of the attendance later. And as a backup, we also circulated an attendance sheet to individuals' residences immediately after the AGM, so that it was signed and it was captured on paper as well. Because this part, according to bylaws and a lot of legal complications, was unclear at that point in time. So we took some sort of precautions to take care of the attendance bit. Then from a voting point of view, of course, we had a couple of issues that we knew would go into a debate. And usually we would simply have a rise of hands if it was a physical AGM. Our apartment complex uses Apna complex. And so we were already ready with a few options whenever we were discussing any of these issues, right, in the AGM. And we instantly created polls for all owners so that we could also, quickly reflect upon where the poll is trending. And eventually post the AGM, after about a couple of hours, we concluded the poll and let everyone know of the results, right? The other thing, and the most important one, is power cuts and internet connectivity disruptions. One most important thing with that is how the recording has to continue. And with Google Meet, usually one person initiates the recording and it continues. So now we made sure that one person logs out multiple internet sources, just so that even if there was a power cut, it would continue through a cellular internet source and so on. And of course, yes, we prayed so that there's no power disruptions. Right? And moving on to some of the QA and interruptions, right? We have a lot of questions. We are very discussive in nature. So we had a full-fledged moderator, just sitting there and making sure that anyone who's not currently speaking goes into mute immediately, right? And we also made sure that anyone who's joining, right, who instantly muted themselves and used the text functionality to post any questions, which didn't have an immediate impact on the flow of the meeting. Right. So these were all the expected bit, right? We all knew this upfront, but then we also had a few unexpected sort of challenges and positives. One of the things was really the unavailability of physical handouts. Because usually, even though a lot of material is sent up front over emails, you all would be aware, very few would go through that in detail and would ask the same questions again in the AGM. So when there were physical handouts, it was easy to just flip to a page and check it out. However, when it is a virtual AGM, it was quite hard for people, especially comprehending few of the numbers and figures when it came to finances, right? The other thing was we could definitely mute everyone's audio or their mics, but we couldn't do that for video. And a few of the owners who were unaware of their video being turned on their mobile devices, I'm sure they felt quite embarrassed post the whole AGM, knowing that a lot of their private spaces at their home were just being seen by everyone else. Now, coming to some of the unexpected advantages as well. So one thing was, due to the virtual nature, we had a huge turnout, right? We had close to twice the attendance compared to our usual average, and that's a huge win, especially when we want to be more inclusive of more and more members in the association. The other thing, of course, was, we had very few instances of someone talking over another person. This would usually be a problem in a physical AGM, but luckily Google Meet has this great inbuilt system which lets the current speaking voice complete before it amplifies another voice. So this way people could really complete their portions before someone interrupted them and just spoke loudly, right? Of course, there's the side bit of savings from not having to provide a scrumptious meal or snacks. In fact, we did see a lot of members who were comfortably sipping their, Coca-Colas or chais from their beds, right? So yeah, definitely a few unexpected advantages as well. But I think all in all, it was a pretty good outcome. And going forward, we'll definitely look at some of these challenges and optimize for it. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions towards the end, but this is roughly a walkthrough of how the virtual AGM went in Shobha, right? Quick observations otherwise, just for everyone to keep in mind, most people join through their phones, not through their laptops or computers. So we'll always look forward to optimizing for mobile phones. The other thing is just even though voting through mobile app and software works mostly for the most of the members, a few seniors were still trying hard to figure out how to vote through a software system because it's generally new. Yeah, but again, these are just observations, not really contributed to the success or failure in any way, just something for all of you to watch out. Yeah, that's my bit. I'll just hand it over back to you, Sandhya.
Thank you, Srinath. I'm sure there'll be a lot of queries, especially on the tech part, how to manage it, kind of thing. And every AGM, every association, I'm sure, has its own set of problems. So, thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Anand Gore. Just 1 second, I'll make you the. So, I've made you the presenter, Anand. Mr. Anand Gore is from Sri Ram White House, one of the oldest communities in North Bangalore with approximately 550 apartments. Mr. Gore is a learning and development professional with over 20 years of experience. He heads an organization called Knowledge Tree Consulting. This is his second stint in the MC. Mr. Anand, yeah, on to you.
Thanks. Thanks. I hope everyone's able to hear me clearly.
Yes.
So, yeah, like Sandhya said, my name is Anand. I'm part of the committee. I'm not one of the office bearers. Now, what happened is that, when the discussion about the virtual AGM started, let me give you a little background about the complex. Now, our complex is is one of the older complexes in this area. It's about 15, 20 years old, which also means that we have a lot of senior citizens, especially in the MC, because they're the people who can spend the time and effort. So things like virtual or technology is always a challenge for them. So what happened is when we were discussing this, the first question that came up from some of the senior citizens is, can it be done? And there was a discussion saying that why not postpone it to next year? We have the COVID, we have a good reason. Let's not run the AGM unless we can have people in person. How will you moderate discussions? How will you arrive at polling? How will you arrive at consensus? All of that stuff. And also some people said, what about samosas and tea, which is given to everybody? But that's on a lighter note. So what happened is that in one of these discussions, I have used some of these tools like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, etc. So as part of the meeting, I suggested, I and a few other MC members, obviously, I suggested saying that why don't we go ahead, let us not postpone it. There's no need to postpone it. I'm sure we can handle it. Now, I'm not sure whether some of you have experienced this in the past, but many times when you give an idea, you're left holding the baby or you're left executing it. And suddenly everyone said, okay, Anand, there's an idea, let him execute. And then I was wondering what the hell to do. I hadn't really thought through it that much. But then I looked at the various options and then we decided to go for Zoom. Only for one main reason, and I'm not getting into too much technicalities, but Zoom was convenient. Most people have used Zoom, even the senior citizens, either talking to their children or staying abroad or wherever else. And the look and feel and the use is a little easy. It was also recommended by one or two vendors that we had spoken to. So, and Zoom, we looked at the various requirements that we had in terms of how to run the AGM. One being registration, and we are very strict on allowing only owners to register to attend the AGM. So that possibility existed. We wanted to look at the polling option, which was there in Zoom. We wanted to look at recording all the discussions that happen on chat as well as the voice recording so that it is documentary evidence later on, as well as it helps in making the minutes. So that was also available in Zoom. So we went with Zoom. We went for the paid option. Now, in my apartment complex, we have about 567 apartments. So what happened is that on an average, we have maybe 40, 50 people who turn up. But just to make sure that we are legally compliant, we actually went for the Zoom has an additional paid option, which enables you to have up to 500 participants. So we went for the 500 participants and not the 200 or 300, which is the standard paid option, just to make sure that if it comes up in an audit, we can say the infrastructure enabled everybody to join. And that's what we did. So we went for Zoom. And what we did in Zoom is that we ensured that people have to register before the meetings. About 4 or 5 days before the AGM, we put up posters, and we have a lot of WhatsApp groups where residents are involved. So we put up all the the process of registering online beforehand. And we gave 1 day before the AGM as a cutoff for registration. Also, another thing we did is when we asked people to register, we asked them to register with their flat number first and name next, so that we can verify against our database and approve only the residents who are owners. Fortunately, we didn't have much of an issue, and we kept registering on a real-time basis. So, we didn't accumulate everything till the end and register. Now, Zoom has a nice feature which, when you approve a request, a mail with a link is sent out to the individual. And generally, the link is customized. There will be a small change in each of these links. So the individual gets a mail, and we had requested people, or we had recommended that people register or log in through their computers, because it's just easier to work on the computers compared to the phone. It's a bigger screen and so on and so forth, but it was not mandatory. So people, and Zoom has an automatic registration process. So the minute the administrator approves the request, the link is sent automatically to the user. Then 1 day before we stopped the registration, we looked at the numbers. So we had a very good response. In fact, typically we have about 40-50 people who turn up. This time we had about 180 approximately registrations, which is pretty good. So on the day of the event, what we did, so like I was mentioning, approved by the MC, and we kept track of this in an Excel sheet, so we knew who all had registered. Registered participants only logging in. Now, on the day of the event also, Zoom has something called a waiting room. Now, people came into the waiting room and then were allowed by us into the meeting. So we had a second level of check before the meeting. We requested everybody to join in about 5-10 minutes or 15 minutes before. As like in all AGMs, what we normally do is that if the quorum of 40% or whatever is the standard is not there, we adjourn the meeting by half an hour and then start off the meeting. So 10 o'clock was the start cutoff time. We waited till 10:05 or whatever, 10:15. Then we adjourned for some time and then we started the meeting. Yeah, okay, 51% somebody says. So we don't have to wait for the 51% if we adjourn it for half an hour. That's my understanding. Now, I'm not technically, I'm not getting into all the details. If someone has better information on this, you can please share it. All participants, yeah, okay. Okay, now Zoom also has an option of ensuring that everybody who logs in muted, and only the administrator can unmute a participant, an individual, to speak. And this worked out really, really well, because generally what I've noticed in our AGMs is many times, at least parts of the meeting gets hijacked by the loudest person or somebody who has the most grievance or so on and so forth. So being on mute really helped, because we could at least get them information across before we got into the discussions and questions. We also had a polling option, which we used. Now, we were planning to use polling for two things. One is we wanted to use polling if there were more people who had nominated or registered themselves to join the committee. So we have normally 6 seats every year that needs to be filled. So if we had had more than 6, then we would have had to use a polling or a voting option for that. And second is to pass some of the resolutions where we had to get an approval of people. Now, another thing that we did do is that Zoom has something called co-host, and you can have multiple co-hosts. Maybe I'll talk about that in a minute. So the polling we used very well. We actually had 2 strong points of discussion about usage of some funds that are there and so on and so forth. And things like this, I've realized, at least in a physical AGM, some people have very strong opinions of how it should be used, technicalities, all of that. They come and then they kind of take over sometimes these discussions. So that is what was about to happen in this meeting. But we said, listen, you know what, you guys have your opinion. Let's just have a polling and we'll see if majority approve it, we will go with it. And the polling is very, very fast and very, very good. So we, on the spot, when the meeting was going on, some of us who were at the back end, so we had 4 MC members at the back end who were managing the whole process when the session was going on. So one of us quickly created the poll as the requirement came up. And this poll button comes on every individual screen, and they have to choose yes, no, or approve, disapprove, whatever you decide to do. And it actually shows a live dashboard of how it's progressing. So in about 5 minutes or so, we were able to decide on the first poll, and then we went into the next poll when the time came up. And both the polls went up really well. I mean, I think some 90-95% of the people who took part in the poll approved those resolutions. So the polling worked really well. And that also gets recorded. So at any point tomorrow, if you want to know what is happening, you have the data with you. Now, we also recorded it. There is a default, there's an option in Zoom which says that record the meeting on local computer or on the cloud. So we chose the local computer. We had 2 of us who were recording it on our computer as a backup. And that helped because my computer actually crashed in between. So fortunately, there was another person also who was recording it. So we had a backup of that. Now, one thing that we did differently, I think, is we had internet, so we had a geofiber in the clubhouse. So we have a small clubhouse in that sense. We don't have a huge hall to run this, and that's why what we did was I think slightly different than how we could have also done it if we had a bigger hall. And this is one of the reasons why we didn't go in for a hybrid model, because we did not have space to have the MC sitting in front, plus have people sitting at the back and maintain social distance. So this was the kind of arrangement that we did. Now we decided to make sure that the recording is done properly, the quality of the video and audio is good. So we actually hired an external vendor. Now the vendor came in with a camera, and he was, so as you can see, the camera was kind of in the center facing the office bearers. We decided that considering the space and the fact that all the discussions have to be moderated, let's only have the office bearers in front talking about the various discussion topics, as well as answering all the questions. Like I said earlier, 4 of us were at the back end managing the whole process, because it does require a decent amount of support at the back end. Like when people are logging in, you have to allow them in. We had given WhatsApp was also there. We were monitoring the WhatsApp when people had an issue. We quickly resolved it, or we resent like this confirmation mails. Some of them said, I have not received it. And they did that after the meeting started. So, the admin went in quickly and resent the mail. We had also given 1 or 2 phone numbers for some of the senior citizens. So if they had an issue, they could call and figure out where to click and so on and so forth. So the camera guy, so the whole office bearers were on camera. And this was good because the quality of the video was much better than if you get it on a laptop, for example. Plus, if you have a laptop and you have 6 or 8 or 10 people over there in front of you, it doesn't serve the purpose. So this worked out really well. Plus, we had 2 mics because we wanted to make sure that anybody who speaks is heard clearly. So there were 2 cordless mics on each row, and people were able to speak when their turn came, whenever their aspect of discussion came up, and it worked really well. And we maintained the social distance. So that's what we did. The whole meeting went off very well. Some statistics, if you can call it that, approximately 180 registrations, approximately 125, 130 attended the meeting. We had originally scheduled the meeting to be a max of 3 hours, but it went to 3.5 hours. Now, the advantage of having the videographer was the fact that that was also recorded, and so we have a recording of the video also, video and audio, which was provided by the videographer. In fact, some of the people said that this was the best AGM ever. It was very smooth. I think thanks to also the fact that we had muted everyone and we allowed people to speak only when required, and they could raise their hands, and and there was a lot of chat also happening. So there were 1 or 2 MC members just monitoring the chat and trying to answer some of the queries on the spot, so that it does not need to be discussed with everybody, or if somebody has an issue that could have been resolved then and there. So it went off really well, very smooth. In fact, a lot of residents said that I think even after the COVID, we should continue with this online mode. The only issue we were not able to solve is the samosas and tea, but that's about it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I think in normal circumstances, the entire burden falls on the office bearers. in this, it looks like all the NC members stepped in to help out and take care of different activities. Our next speaker is Mr. Amit Thukral. Just one second. Amit? Maybe the presenter, yes. Yeah, Mr. Amit Thakral is the ex-secretary and currently the president of Mantri Glades Apartment Owners Association. He has 15 years of work experience and as a senior principal engineer and with Barracuda Networks currently. Mantri Glades is a beautiful society, well maintained, located in Sarjapur Main Road, next to Wipro Corporate Office. He is a part of the Belandur cluster. Amit, on to you.
Thanks, Sandhya, for the introduction. So yeah, as everybody like Hemant and everyone else have already have given the details on what were the challenges and why we went for Zoom and all those things. So ours was a hybrid one, and all those challenges we also faced, and we were lucky enough that we, we were anticipating things in advance, and those things were even on the COVID part, like whatever we were anticipating, those were happening. So we were lucky there. So as per our bylaws, we had actually we have to give a notice for 21 days for AGM to happen, or AGM or EGM to happen. And in the beginning of June itself, we had given a notice, AGM notice, that we will be conducting a Zoom by the month end, but even though we didn't have any guidelines over it. So what happened is, as per our bylaws, even if for any reasons we cannot have it, we can postpone it for next 7 days and subsequent 7 days, like that. So that's what was the thought process. In the beginning of June itself, we gave the AGM notice, and around 15-16 June, we got these guidelines published by Vidya, right? So thanks, Vidya, for that, and it was quite helpful. We went through those guidelines and we thought, okay, yeah, now we can go through it. We can conduct our AGM on time. So for us also, as per our bylaws, by end of June, we have to do it. And so that was quite clear that we can go ahead with the whether we should, so the only question was whether we should do physical or online or both. So since we have arrangements, we had a decent clubhouse and we had a space there that we can accommodate enough people there. So ours is a 165 flats, and as per our bylaws, minimum 30 people are required for EGM, for the AGM quorum to establish. But usually very less people join. Most of people staying in the apartment complex are actually tenants. So that is the challenge here. So it is difficult to find even the good number of MC member itself, because MC members have to be owners. So okay, I'll go through the hybrid way, like what all you need to take care. Because Zoom challenges and all is already explained by the other members here, and I'll give you some tips on the technical challenges and on the hybrid model, what all challenges are there, and we'll go with that. So I'll start sharing my screen. So are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, one second.
Yeah, we can see.
You can see? Okay. Yeah.
Now, yes.
This presentation, can you see?
Not yet.
No, the presentation cannot be seen.
We were
We are
able
able
to
to
see.
see your.
Yeah, now we can see. I can
But
see your
Now
screen.
we're
The
able to.
presentation is not open yet.
yeah. Once.
I think you need to open the screen in which the presentation is there.
Yeah, now we can see.
Yes.
Now you can see. Okay, great. Okay, so one second, it's not coming for me.
You have to switch to the presentation mode.
Oh, I have to switch to the presentation mode. Okay, where is that?
Yeah, it's on top, left hand.
At the bottom of the screen, there is that slideshow mode. You may put it in the slideshow mode.
Is it a Google Meet option?
There is a
or?
white plus at the bottom. Just come down to the bottom of the screen. There are four buttons.
Amit, at the bottom of your screen, you will see that there is.
No, on the presentation itself.
Yeah.
On the presentation, yes, you can. The bottom line, there is a presentation mode.
There is notes,
Bottom
comments,
right hand,
and then
bottom
there are
down,
those
right
four
hand.
squares. Right of that, there is that screen image. You need to click on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So, are you able to see the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, somehow, okay. 1 second.
You can see the arrow. Probably you can press the arrow down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So, like we all know hybrids. Yeah. Sorry about that. Hybrid AGM is like physical AGM plus the online, and so some members can be present physically, and rest all can be present online with Zoom, Team Meeting, or GoToMeeting. So what you have to take care is you have to send the prior notice before your AGM as per your bylaws. So with our bylaws, the prior notice period is 21 days minimum in advance. So we gave around 1 month. I mean, in the beginning of June itself, we sent around 1 or 2 June. So it was more than 21 days notice we gave. And you'll have to send poll using the society maintenance app or Google app to owners. And only the challenge here is that you have to know how many will be physical and how many will be physically present and how many will be present online. And because in the physical presence you cannot exceed more than 50 members, that is this restriction. So that was the restriction as per the guidelines. And that is why, so we did some initial poll using our apartment complex polling option, and we asked how many people will be joining online or whether they'll be joining physically. So some of them said that they'll be joining physical with the physical presence, and some of them said that they'll be joining online. That's how we were able to get to the numbers. Okay, yeah. So we had around 16 to 17. Initial poll said that only 10 people will be joining physically, but when it turned up, around 17 people 17 people had a physical presence, and we had around 25 to 25 people were there online. So I mean, we had a very good quorum established. Like previously, it is even to make 35 people be there in the AGM is a difficult thing for us. But since, I mean, as I said, we have most of people who are tenants here. 60% people staying in the complex are tenants, and only 40% people are apartment owners. So yeah, that was pretty good in this way. Yeah. So you have to check actually who will be joining physically, who will be joining online, then how many proxies will be there, and you have to make sure that those proxies should join have a physical presence, and how many cannot attend. So these all polling options you should do before planning a hybrid AGM. Okay, so yeah, that's what I just said. Okay, so other things you need to take care is you have to send a reminder one day before, like people who will be joining, and then it's better. It's as per the COVID things in mind. Ask them to bring their own pen, so that for the physical presence, for the people who are attending physically, they have to sign in the register for their attendance. So they should bring their own pen. And what other thing you should do is you should have either one guard or one MC member who could write their entries in the attendance register, and just they will just have to sign it. That's all. So other things you have to make sure is, I mean, we all know that mask, hand sanitization, and physical distancing, sitting arrangements with maintaining distance. Okay, and so whatever I just said is there in this slide. Max limit is 50 you can have for physical presence. Yeah, so these are the other steps, like get a Zoom or GoToMeeting ID or Microsoft Team, whatever you people are comfortable with. So I mean, we went with Zoom option, but we didn't had a professional version of it. We had a trial version of it only, and that didn't have a polling option. So we got to know on the day of AGM, well, we were doing AGM when we were about to do the poll, and suddenly we realized that, okay, I mean, we cannot do a polling here, and we didn't do the trial run. That was because everything was happening, and we had only 5-6 active members who were arranging everything. So we didn't get a chance to do a trial run, but then we had a backup. I had created this thing, Google form, with the polling options, whatever resolutions we wanted to see. For those resolutions, we had a Google form with those questions ready. So if required, if we cannot do it on Zoom, I will send that link to all the owners, and then we could have recorded the resolution there. But I mean, so we tackled it in a little different way. I'll go through it. So you should have a projector also, because in case of physical as well as online, what is the thing is, the online people will not be able to see how many physical people, how many people are there in the room, and I mean, and the people who are physically present in the room, they don't know, I mean, who is speaking what. So it's better to have a projector and projected over on the wall, so that everybody can see who all are there online, who is speaking what, and everybody can have an interaction. And better to have a speaker as well as mic, but we didn't have a mic, we didn't have a speaker. So so it was manageable. So these were like, since ours was the first one, so these were like challenges we faced at that time. But anyway, I mean, it happened all good. I mean, we were able to communicate. So for the polling thing, that's what I said in the last line. I have written that prepare and keep a Google form for polling options link ready for questions which would require polling. Another challenge was in the Zoom trial version, we don't have a full if the max time limit is the 40 minutes. So after 40 minutes, everybody will be logged out and they'll have to log in again. So I mean, this happened like that for us. Every 40 minutes, we had informed everyone that in the beginning, when the start of the AGM, that since this is not a professional version of Zoom, so people will have to re-log in after 40 minutes, after every 40 minutes. So, and it happened that way actually. After every 40 minutes, people re-logged in. So, and for us, with 30 minutes, for us, the minimum quorum to start a meeting as per our bylaws is 30. And we were lucky enough that at the start of the meeting, we had around 15 or 16 people who were physically present, and more than 15 were there online. And immediately within the 5 minutes of the start of the meeting, the quorum was established. And then we started with the meeting. And then many people joined after that. Okay, so another thing you need to take care is that when you are sending the Zoom invite link to all, I mean, it can be, as people have highlighted that, and there shouldn't be a case that it goes to somebody else and somebody anonymously is joining. So you have to figure it out who, all those things. So for preventing that, what we did is we sent the link just 5 minutes before the meeting starts, or 5 or 10 minutes before the AGM started, but we had informed residents that the link will be sent 10 minutes before the start of the meeting, so that everybody can click on the link and join the meeting. And so these are the things you have to take care. Start recording feature, wait for the quorum as per your bylaws to get established, and one MC member minimum who's present, should be present online, should monitor online attendance, take screenshot of the mobile picture once the quorum is established, and maintain minutes of meeting. So now the challenge in the hybrid cases, you'll have to maintain the minutes of meeting for online as well as for the physical. So for the onlines, we had 2 moderators who were there, who were recording the attendance and who were approving because other challenges, I mean, somebody is logging through the link from his wife's ID and all that thing. So you have to know who is who. So those moderators were figuring out those details, like which flat number, who's the person who's joined in, and all those things. And if they have any questions which they are posting on the chat, so you have to take care of that. Okay, and then we on the one member from the physical side also, you need to have a minutes of meeting recorded. I mean, actually, one member, the physical member who is present there, can do both the jobs online and offline, but it's better at least 2 members are there who are online, who are moderating for the online users and doing the minutes of meeting there for that. And yeah, so so for us, what turned out is using the poll option was not feasible for the Zoom, because it was a trial version. And then we had a Google Ring, but then we figured it out, okay, let's use the chat. So in the chat also, we had 3 questions where we wanted to seek the resolution, and very first question which we asked, and we said how many agree. So there were like a lot of many people who agreed, and it was a difficult task for a moderator to figure it out, like who is saying disagree and how many are agree, and it was quite difficult. So then we changed the tactics, and we said that how many disagree for the next question onwards, for the resolution questions to be answered. Then that was quite easy. In the chat itself, we were able to see that how many people are disagreeing, and then rest others, and then you have to collate both the, so you have to have on the physical, the person who is presently physical, you have to, when you are asking the question online, similarly you have to record the people's views who are present in the room. So I mean, we were doing both. I mean, I was doing the things that people who are there in the room, we have to count like how many agree or disagree, raise their hands, and similarly how many disagree over the online. We were able to figure it out, like how many have overall disagree and how many have overall agreed, and the resolution is passed or not. So we were able to take that decision at that moment, and we were lucky enough that we could do it. Otherwise, I mean, it was little, could have gone little embarrassing that, but I mean, it turned out well. Okay, yeah. So, the other point you need to take care is when you're marking the attendance for the physical members, it is okay. You'll have a register. One person will be signing. One person will be doing the entry, and then people should sign using their own pen. And yeah, so you'll have to record. They'll have to come with the proxy things also, and you'll have to. And that person who is recording the attendance should take care that he's recording the proxies as well. And yeah, but the challenge here is to collate both the things. So what we figured out was initially we thought the attendance is 50, and then it turned out okay, no, actually it was 59 or 58, because there were two members who were present online as well as who were present physically in the room. So that's why I've given this like total attendance is equal to physical plus proxy plus online minus X, and X is like the people who are present online as well as who are physically present in the room. So that will be the attendance, and you'll have to record that attendance. So we recorded that attendance in the sheet, like which somehow got open. I was looking at that sheet at the start of AGM, and we recorded that attendance in that sheet. Okay, so I think yeah, then you have to collate physical plus online minutes of meeting, and physical plus online attendance, and any resolutions which have whatever the resolution decisions, and that will go into your MOM. And yeah, that's all. Thank you from my side.
Thank you, Amit. That was quite a detailed presentation, a walkthrough on all the issues you must have faced. AGM per se itself is quite a task, if you ask me, and doing it virtual, adapting to technology seems easy, but it comes with its own set of issues. And doing something like this and hybrid, having a physical plus a virtual one, I'm sure has had its fair number of challenges. Thank you. There are a lot of queries which are coming in. I think, especially adapting to something new, will have its own.
Sandhya, I'm unable to hear. Is anyone talking?
Audible?
Yes, Sandhya, you are audible, but I think the audio is a little choppy. If you could speak a little louder or closer to the mic, should be okay.
Okay, thank you. There are quite a few queries on the chat window, especially on the tech part of it. When it comes to technology, there are so many platforms which are available. So,
hello. Somehow I'm unable to hear anything.
Now, can you hear me?
I think I can hear.
Okay. So, yeah, there are a couple of queries which are coming in, especially on the tech part of it, because there are a lot of platforms which are available. So, it would be good for one of the speakers to take up on the which tech platform suits best for the virtual AGM. I think Rumi had a query. Rumi?
Some of it got answered earlier to say, yes, what is the cost for Zoom platform and whether there can be co-hosts. So most of the queries have been answered on the chat itself. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next, Anand, would you like to go?
Sure, yeah. So there are a few questions that have come up. Now, what we did is that, like I told you, there were a few MC members who had co-hosts, and what were logging in from their house. So we also broke up the bandwidth issue over there. Now, all of us had an Excel sheet with a list of participants. So we verified it against Excel in the registered sheet while approving people who came into the lobby. I think that's one of the questions that has come up here. In terms of Zoom, I think we paid close to 5,000 rupees for 500 participants, 1 month license with unlimited recording, polling and so on and so forth. The second question, what else was there? One more thing I missed out, which worked very well, is that in addition to, we had the projector, the screen on, so that the people, the office bearers who are in front, they could also see what is happening. Otherwise, they're just looking into a camera and speaking, and they don't know what's happening online. So they get to see the interaction, they get to see the chat and so on. But what we also did is that we had one or two people who were copying all the chat, the questions that came up in the chat, and we put it up on TV facing towards the side, facing the MC members, the office bearers, so that they could answer all the important questions that came up in the discussion. If we had to go for a polling option or voting option, we would have either put it up in Zoom and said, you know, suppose there are 8 people and 6 had to be chosen, we would have said choose 6 out of 8 and probably collated it and gone with it, or we would have gone with the Google Forms option and put up the link. That was one question also that came up. Any other questions? Please ask me and I'll be happy to.
Sure. There was one query from Anand. I think he's dropped out. I'm not sure. But this one, some bylaws do not provide for e-voting. Has anyone faced a challenge, and how have you overcome it?
Hello.
Yeah, Hemant.
Sanjay, can I answer this?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so what we did was our bylaws are silent on voting procedure, and so does the KOA Act. It's not very specific on how the voting should be conducted. So we went for Zoom with the only reason that in Zoom, when you have e-voting, what happens is it appears on your screen. It appears on the screen and it gives multiple options. In our case, the proposed resolution, we had only 2 options, yes or no. So what happened was for all the participants had to vote. So there was voting was completed within 15 minutes, and everybody who were present in the meeting took part in the voting, because it appears on your screen, and unless you select one option, that screen will not go. So for the 15 minutes, that screen, the polling option will appear on your screen. And for recording, what we did was we went for cloud recording. But in Zoom cloud recording, there is a pro tip. What you do is you don't take it in advance. You take it one day prior to the AGM, so that it takes only the pro rata fees for the cloud recording. So it's very nominal. I think some $5 or something we spent on cloud recording. In case the laptop crashes, the laptop of the host crashes, the recording is still on the cloud. So we can download it when the meeting is over. And e-voting, what happens is the report for e-voting on Zoom is available only after the meeting ends, not during the time of meeting. So we could publish the results only after the meeting is ended.
Yeah, Sandhya, I can probably add on to that on what we did in Shobha Morzaria.
Okay.
So we use Apna Complex, and that really helps because it helps us navigate a few things like multiple people joining virtually, and then us not having to go around and verify if each one of the votes are actually individual per unit, etc. The Apna Complex system just lets us mark different voting options, one per unit or one per person, and things like that, right? So that way it really helps us just take away all those worries around making sure that someone has voted only once, a unit has gotten only one vote. The other thing is we use Apna Complex as our ERP, and all our data is anyway there and is accepted by the entire community as valid. So at any point, anybody can go back to it and always check what the poll results were, and we don't have to worry about it.
Thank you, Sheila. I think there were a couple of queries on.
Sandhya, Rumi here. There was one more question. I think the examples we heard of, I believe that the existing committee members had to maintain social distancing and be present in a single room. Do we have any use case where even the present committee members attended this meeting remotely without having to come into a single room with projector and other things in it?
Well, in White House, what we did is some of us, like I said, the office bearers were there in the clubhouse, but the rest had logged in remote. So all MC, the managing committee, had logged in. Out of we have a committee of 18, so I think we had about 14 that day. Out of 14, 6 were on screen, 4 were doing remote support, and the rest were just logged in as members.
Okay, so it was like hybrid, but there was some physical presence in the clubhouse, maintaining social distance. That was like a norm, I think. That's what I'm hearing.
That's right. Yes, we had 2 rows with 3 people each, with a few feet distance between each of them. And they were wearing masks, there were sanitizers provided and all that.
Yeah, that goes without saying. I'm just trying to see whether there was a use where, because see, our committee has not been meeting physically at all ever since the pandemic. So we've been all having our regular meetings remotely. We are thinking whether we could do the same, carry it off like this also, without having to come into a single room and do this all remotely. So I just want to know if anyone else has done this or not. Okay.
Rumi, just a quick, Rumi, just a quick this thing on that. See, our meeting rooms usually are smaller, but if you could probably, since the clubhouses and all are closed, you could probably use a larger space with the chairs set up. If it is, the MC members, typically the numbers would be anywhere 15 to 20 possibly for your complex. So there is a possibility of doing it with the physical distance and physical distance and the mask etiquette and all that. So it's just that not the smaller rooms, but choose the larger areas which can be set up.
Like the party hall.
Yes, yes. And just to add, just if I can add some more experiences, we've not had anybody share that experience. But as per the BBMP guidelines, the restrictions were on, not exceeding 50 numbers. And there are some members whose, attendance typically has been the smaller apartments where the attendance has been in the range of, 30, 40 members or so. They have held the AGMs in the open area with the chairs and all well maintained at distance and with the mask and sanitizing all protocols. And they have conducted physical meeting, but with all the COVID prevention norms. So that also has happened along with, purely virtual AGM or hybrid AGM.
Really, to your question, having everybody completely remote has a big negative. In that, really, in a situation like this, you will run into some network issues and some or the share doesn't show up and that sort of thing. And who is speaking and presenting isn't always aware of what is happening with other screens. Having at least like 2 or 3 people in a room with an eyeline helps make sure that there is a feedback loop that is available, so that in case there is any problem, you catch it very early than somebody speaking going on like for 10 minutes and then realizing nobody knew what was going on.
Okay. Thanks, Gans. Thank you.
Yeah,
just to add on,
yeah, sorry.
I think online. Sorry, this is Anand here again. I think online is possible, but you need to plan and prepare and rehearse in before the meeting. Like even for this session, what we did is we actually did 2 demos. And we made sure that unlike other meetings, everything is clearly and properly put up in a PPT and people's roles are defined. Now, if you do it online, I would suggest that you do a demo with everybody sitting in their designated places, checking the internet, seeing if the video audio is correct, and assigning tasks to everyone. And I think you can do it online. Though it will be difficult, it's possible.
Yeah,
okay,
and to add to that, I would like to say that just one more point you should take care while doing the physical as well as online is for the physical, when you are the internet access, just put some UPS for the router. That will be great. I mean, if we did that, actually we had to put a router, put a UPS with the router, so that even if the power fluctuation is there, the laptops generally have a good battery, but if the router goes, then it will be, the meeting will be a disaster. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
any changes to the bylaws is required, or the legal opinion suffices?
Yeah, if I can answer that, we have put up this BAF AGM advisory guidelines, and if you look at the contents of that, you can see that a lot of effort has gone in trying to get the concerned departments to give us an advisory on this. Unfortunately, that did not happen in the early this thing, and even later when the notifications did come, in terms of offering, extension of the deadlines to conduct the AGM to 31st of December for only, of course, KSRA and cooperative societies related associations. There were verbal communication or in the discussions that came up was that this is a pandemic. This is a global situation. Even the judiciary, even the companies, or most of the organizations are taking recourse to the virtual way of doing things. So you should, get the approval of your members, and you should table it. You should get it ratified in the meeting, and so on. So doing that, yes, you can conduct this kind of a meeting. And second, having said this, there are a lot of our own member community managing committees, which having gone through the process have realized that the bylaw has a lacunae. So far as the acts are concerned, they do not mention AGM. Yes, it is an annual requirement. That is a compliance that it needs to be conducted by a specific date for some of the KSRA, KCSA registered associations. But definitely once a year it needs to be conducted as a compliance. But how it should be conducted, where it should be conducted, conducting it virtually, there is no mention of virtual because all the laws are dated, 1959, 60, 72. So that provision was not there. But with this experience, many managing committee members are also looking to, amend their bylaws with possibly, factoring this in, whether we can hold in various, under what circumstances can this kind of an AGM, virtual AGM can be permitted or held. So there are many associations contemplating now to amend their bylaws to possibly include this provision. Does that answer your question, Charul?
Yeah, Vidya, thanks so much.
Vidya, just to when you finish your answer, so we did our online AGM yesterday, and this point in attendance as well as from relatively it was not quite and smoother.
I'm sorry. There are two. I'm not able to hear clearly. So, Gans, if you're speaking, somebody else needs to switch off their mic. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we had our AGM yesterday, and it went well. But then it was actually smoother and quieter and stuff like that than our regular AGMs and with higher participation. At the end of it, a lot of members were asking if we can simply make this our standard going forward even after COVID. So is that something that we should do, or is it something like by default it's like allowed anyway kind of thing? Because in your document it has said that there's nothing really saying no to a virtual AGM. So like next year, can this be a real option just as it is without going through everything about having an advance okay from the members and stuff like that?
No, I don't know whether we can continue. We will have to really, sit and take the member consensus. Again, that if this is end of the day, if you want to make this as a norm, then I would suggest that you do take member consensus if you need, because any bylaw amendment to this effect needs, consent from the members to the percentage extent that have been mentioned. So go through that and then decide. I think it is too early days to sort of decide whether this could be a norm or no. And we will have to see all the experiences and, incorporate, learn, and then decide on how we do it next year. Yeah.
Was also, are we authorized to write such a thing in the bylaws? I mean, is it a thing that we are allowed to change? It's not like we can't possibly change everything in the bylaws, right? So, is it something would be the scope that we can say, okay, our bylaws allow now from now on virtual AGM, that sort of thing.
No, if it is not in the bylaw, then it will have to be a year-on-year decision, taking going through the same process that each of the members or speakers who presented today did. Because if you're going to not amend the bylaw to incorporate this, then you will have to go through the same rigor that Anand or Srinath and all the other speakers did mention about what the preparatory work. Yeah.
I understood that was not the question. That was not the question. I meant is, see, the KSRA Act and KOA Act, for that matter, have some base set of things, right? Based on which our bylaws are written. I'm assuming that not everything in the bylaws is something that we can do. For example, can we decide zero quorum? Right? Can we decide, no need to submit the documents? We can't do stuff like that, right? There are some things that are there in the KSRA which we are not allowed to override, I'm assuming, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure about the others, but your audio is not very clear. So I think Mr. Ganesh has left. Sorry, I'm not able to. Maybe if you could just put it up in the chat window, then I'll try to. Yeah.
Vidya, I just want to add, Luke here. Yesterday, GANS conducted our AGM extremely well. Had it happened a few days earlier, I would have recommended to you to consider him a speaker for this event. So I would like to place that on record. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Thank you, Luke. I'm sure there could be a possibility of some more sharing of this. So my suggestion would be to all the members who have conducted their AGMs amidst the current challenges, do share your experiences, because it could possibly, there is a lot of learning, and also possibly taking it up to the regulatory authorities also to incorporate some of these learnings if it makes sense. Because this pandemic, I mean, I'm sure we all know that we are going to continue living in this for quite some time to come. We don't know, what would again happen by next year. So please do share. Yeah.
Thank you, Vidya. There are a couple of queries. There is one on secret ballot. Hemant, can you take that up, please? Sanjay, would you like to ask your query?
Hi, Sanjay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had two teams participating for MC. So we had in the agenda, we had election for MC. So the concern amongst some of the members was that the ballot should be secret and the confidentiality should be maintained, and nobody should know who has voted for whom. So what we did was, since it was e-voting on Zoom, we made sure that the person who is hosting the Zoom meeting is not standing for the election himself, so as to avoid a conflict of interest. So the person, he was an MC member, but he was not going to get re-elected. He was in a separate place, not with other MC members. And once the meeting was concluded, he downloaded a copy of the report, which had the e-voting results. And that was verified by a neutral person, by a senior member who was not part of any MC. It was signed by them on a sheet of paper. The report was deleted from the laptop, and it was kept in a sealed envelope with again signatures, with a resolution being passed that this sealed envelope will be kept in our bank locker and to be opened only if resolved by the AGM. So this is how we ensured that the ballot is secret, and it was acceptable to all the members.
Thank you, Hemant. I think that answers your query, Sanjay. So on to the next.
Sandhya, there is a quick update which I also wanted to give, and I see that Mr. Anil has also put it in the chat box. This is the new Unlock 4 rule. Like the earlier restrictions were for 50 people. Even today, so far as marriages and the funerals are concerned, the restrictions are still 50 numbers and 20 numbers. But for various other official and other important, gatherings, the Unlock 4 guidelines has relaxed the gathering size to 100 numbers. So only thing is, yes, if you want to do, there is a different. There are members who may not be, may be challenged from a technological front and may find holding physical meetings more conducive or so based on the general member consent. In safe environment again, to conduct up to, have this meeting for up to 100 people is validly possible. So I just want to bring in that point as well.
Thank you, Vidya. That brings me to the question that has anybody faced issues where the tenants outnumbering the owners, and how do you take decisions during virtual AGM on these contentious issues?
Sorry, Sandhya, can you repeat that? It was a little.
What happened? Non-resident owners exceed the resident owners. So sometimes, if you have to say increase your ANC or whatever, or you have differential for whatever reasons. I mean, you can be outvoted by the non-resident owners. Generally, they may not attend a physical meeting, but when it's virtual, you can log in from anywhere in the world. So has anybody faced a challenge like this?
No, for us, actually, we have non-resident owners, but the number is not that it will be over the residents. So large number of people are resident owners. So I mean, it was okay for us.
I think, Sandhya, on that count, I think it will all depend on, most of these resolutions are voted upon by the owners who are the members of the association. So if it is members, then I think, the tenants will not have a say in that. Unless there are, I have not heard of any bylaws or so where even the, tenants have any voting rights and all that. So that we would definitely like to hear from other members who are facing that issues.
Sorry, it's not the tenants voting. I'm asking if the resolution which is in favor of whatever, and non-resident voters are higher, as in the owners. They can choose for you, right? They say, okay, don't increase the AMC this year, or XYZ.
I think here again you will have to go with what your bylaws have stated, because there has to be clarity. I mean, they are also owners. They may not be residents, but they are also owners. So it again depends on if any time there has been a conflict in the resolution because the non-resident owners have voted something which the resident owners feel is not in sync, because non-resident owners do not know the ground reality for those decisions to be made, then I think they will have to then look at how the resolution process needs to be taken up. So I would, it may be I also don't have an answer for that. But if there are any such instances, then I think we need to look up to all these things as case study.
Thank you.
Vidya, hi, this is Arun Kumar from Mantri Greens. Is there any possibility BAF will take this up with the government of Karnataka to incorporate this as part of the acts themselves, Vidya? Thank you.
I think, as I said earlier, I think we are all waiting to go through our experiences of virtual meeting. There are a lot of pros is what I'm also gathering from various experiences that we have. And if we have sufficient such instances, and when this also comes from, BAF and apartment associations is one part of it. There are obviously corporates, there is judiciary, there is various other organizations who have gone through this process. And if we all find it that it is amenable and it works and it can be done and it is much more productive, I think there is no reason why we should not propose this and approach the concerned department with amendments. I think, having said that, there are quite a few members on this today's meeting as well who know that there are a lot of amendments that are required in various apartment association related acts. So this is, one of those such amendments which we can also take forward. Thanks, Arun. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Wants to...
Thank you, Vidya.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, it does.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandhya. This is Mahadevan.
Thanks, Vidya. Yes,
So
it does.
Yeah, am I clear? Am I audible?
Yes. Mr. Mahadevan, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm talking from Embassy Press Chain, Belendo. So I'm a lawyer by profession. So I've gone through your advisory, and so the problem is what we face, and many associations are facing the same problem. It is advisory in nature, and it is not a legal directive. And I have also spoken to Mr. Arun Kumar from your BAF, and he has shared with me the kind of efforts which you have been putting to get this, get a direction from the government. And the problem, we face is, suppose you go and do a virtual AGM, and if some 40-50 members challenge in the court, then you have a bigger issue, and the virtual AGM could be questioned, and the election of MC, etc. So, and I also understand from some of the other associations, is Registrar of Corporate Societies, they are issuing a letter to conduct the virtual AGM, and they have issued to some of the associations. So, whether taking a letter from Registrar of Societies will be a kind of protection from a legal perspective, though many associations are formed under KEOA. So whether KEOA associations can take a letter from Registrar of Societies for conducting the AGM, so that you have some document from the government that yes, we can conduct, and that can protect any possible challenges coming from some residents who are not agreeing to this virtual AGM. So that's a question I have.
Definitely, yes. If you can get any letter from the Registrar of Cooperative Societies, more than welcome. See, initially when we started this effort of approaching various departments to, get them to issue an advisory, like the Ministry of Corporate Affairs had issued, right, where they allowed any such virtual or any audio visual means of a meeting can be conducted, they did issue a very specific advisory. So we did approach the ROCS to issue a similar advisory. Unfortunately, what we also met with is that they said, okay, whoever wants to hold, they can come individually and they can submit their application and we will issue. So we had one or two samples of, they being permitted to hold the AGM in a particular manner. But by and large, they were all in, as I said, in their virtual discussions, did mention that the law does not specifically say to conduct via virtual or otherwise. That it doesn't say. So even if you conduct it in a virtual manner, it would not be contradicting the provisions of the law, but at the same time taking the consent of your members. Now, in most cases, if you see what the speakers also mentioned, there was a lot of preparatory work, and they had the majority decision to go ahead and also ratified that decision in their AGMs. Unless and until, in probably your particular case, if the members, there is no majority consensus as defined by your bylaw, nor is it, even if you go with a majority and does not get ratified in the AGM, then obviously, yes, you may have to look at, having some communication or what do you call, a permission from the concerned department to allow you to hold a virtual AGM. But I think my question to you, since you're also a lawyer, is the department issuing any such, explicit permission on conducting a virtual AGM?
I can quote one example. I understand St. John's. I think there is a Resident Welfare Association. They have taken permission from Registrar of Societies to conduct the virtual AGM. So that there is one of my friends shared with me. So and there is also one in Belandur where they have taken the Registrar of Societies permission specifically to conduct virtual AGM.
Right. This is KSRA associations. And there I remember the registrar very clearly saying that let each association, KOA? Okay.
Yeah, KOA.
Okay.
Yeah.
KOA. Okay. No, I think there were indication, they had mentioned that let each association come, and then we will give them the letter. So whereas our, request to them was, since there are so many lakhs of such association, why not the department issue this advisory? So then they said, if anybody wants to be even more, very clear and wants to table this, then let them approach us also. And I think we have mentioned that in our advisory as well. Because at the time when the advisory we released, there was no notification nor any thought given by the departments to issue any generic advisory. But post that, we have seen, I can just quickly read out a couple of developments that happened. So the Registrar of Cooperative Society, there was a notification dated 24th of June 2020, which talked about apartments or associations registered under the Cooperative Societies Act. And there they extended, relaxed the date to hold the AGMs to up to 25th of December 2020. Again, there is no mention of any virtual this thing. Again, KSRA themselves, the Department Registrar of Cooperative Societies has issued another notification on 22nd of July. And there also they extend, they've relaxed the date to conduct AGM up to end of December 2020. Again, despite all the follow-ups, they are very silent on, virtual AGM. So the only thing, as it has been mentioned in the virtual advisory, the BAF advisory is also, please table your decisions and minute them with consensus so that these can be used to uphold the validity of the AGMs conducted.
Vidya,
and anything more than that? Yeah.
Can I come in, Vidya? 1 minute.
Yes, Mr. Rao.
I think the fact that they are taking the consent of the people, whether they want to be present virtually or physically, itself is a fact that they are allowing this hybrid or otherwise to happen. Second, after taking the approval, consent of these people, the first subject of the AGM should be, because of the COVID situation, because of non-presence, and so many people have consented for absenting themselves physically, and the others are physically present. If that resolution is passed, I think most of the problem will be sorted out. Thanks.
So
Yeah,
thank you. Thanks so much.
Nowadays, even the courts are doing it online. So if the courts are hearing, those hearings are happening online and those are valid and are getting recorded, I mean, logically, this should also be allowed and this should also be have a proper validity, actually. I believe that it cannot.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand completely. See, I'm a qualified company secretary also. See, for conducting election, for conducting the AGM virtually, MCA has given specific directions, and they said it can be allowed. There were circulars issued in May, April, May, etc. Likewise, for the court also, they have issued necessary guidelines. Here, the problem is that no guidelines are coming from the Karnataka government, and that's where we are all, having issues. That's what I wanted to just clarify. Thanks for giving clarification. Really appreciate.
I think apartment associations have been sort of neglected in many of these, and probably with the help of our members, we hope that we can work something more towards getting more cooperation and the necessary support from the government of Karnataka. And I wish all lawyers like you do join in, because this is a great lacuna today. It will really help a lot of associations to run smoothly if we have that kind of support from the government in terms of various policy amendments that are required as well in this space.
Absolutely, Vidya. Whatever support I can provide, I will always.
Yeah.
I can speak to you offline.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will connect with you.
So
Any more
question
questions,
for,
Sandhya, you want
yeah,
to?
one last question for Mr. Hemant Pai or Vidya about proxy votes. So there are always owners who are out of town, they live in Calcutta, they want to delegate the vote to somebody else. So using the online only procedure, either through Zoom or through MyGate, or how do you propose to handle the right to vote for all these folks who are traditionally faxing in or emailing a signed proxy sheet? How do we handle them and verify authenticity and sanctity of that process too? Thank you.
Can I take this question?
Yeah, who is this? Amit?
Yeah, this is Amit.
Yeah, Amit. You can take the question.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, what those people should do is since they are outside, and they should identify a person from their block who is attending. So block can be a building itself, and the whole building, let's say there are 4 or 5 buildings, and each building is a block. Then that block itself, whoever is attending physically, they can give a proxy to them. And for that, they should write a mail to the MC that I'm giving a proxy to this person. So for us, we have a physical form, proxy form, as well as online also we accept it. In email itself is sufficient. He can give the proxy to that person who is attending it physically. That's how the proxy, that's what I said in my presentation also. At least the proxy people should be physically present.
Understood, Amit. Thank you. Any options for the Zoom, purely Zoom or purely virtual option? Amit was a hybrid if I look at my notes. Any ideas on Zoom only option?
On just
proxy
to
voting.
add, just to add to that, once the proxy has been identified, the person who is nominating the proxy can give details of the proxy's registered email ID and the telephone number, right? So and the address, because that proxy has to be a part of that resident association. He has to be one of the occupants of the So I think if that details are sent by email, the rest of the things are there in the records, whether it is a tenant or owner. The record of who is staying in that particular apartment is available with the association in the association records. So that can be verified, right? And the same process as you send to invite registrations for the Zoom or to allow somebody to enter can be based on then that detail. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, except for the thing that we'll have to sort out how to give one attendee of the online meeting 2 votes basically, because one for themselves and one for the holder of the proxy. So technically
So
they should be allowed to press the button twice.
Probably they can give, I mean, the one who nominates the proxy can give an other alternate number or email ID, which is, different from the existing owner. He may have 2 phones or some such, or, the spouse also. So like that, possibly you can work out something. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Add on to this. I want to add on to this.
Yeah.
Hello, Hemant here, Vidya. I want to add on to
Hemant,
this.
go ahead.
Yeah, so for e-voting in our apartment, we had many proxies. So what we did was we had a separate Excel sheet for proxies. And when we do the e-voting on Zoom, the downloaded report will not consider proxies. So we had to add the proxies to the vote in the backend after we have downloaded the report. So that has to be done manually. And another thing is, sometimes what will happen is the owner would have given a proxy, but he will join the Zoom meeting and he would have voted himself. So in our SOP, we made a point that if the owner joins himself, the proxy will get cancelled. So these things have to be done in the back end once the meeting is concluded. So that will take some amount of work. It has to be manually done.
Understood. Got it, Hemant. Thank you. Okay, I think that answers my
Just
question
one
from
question.
Amit's perspective, Vidya's perspective, as well as Hemant's perspective. Thank you so much for all three of you.
Thank you. Sandhya, it is nearing
Bharat,
1:30, so if there are no more questions, then I think we can, close the session also.
I think there is one.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have one query. Actually, in my flat, there are a lot of owners pretty much staying out of Bangalore, and probably actually some people thinking that we should postpone our our elections probably to sometime till March. So would that president can pass some sort of an ordinance where considering this pandemic, you can postpone your election by few months?
Actually, as per law, you are expected to conduct the annual general meeting along with the elections because your tenure would have gotten over around this time, right? So I don't think you should do that unless you call for this specifically that and take consent that the existing members continue their tenure. Unless you get a consent to do that via the registered email IDs or by announcing this and inviting any objections, I do not think you can take a decision to just defer it till March or so.
Okay.
But Vidya, you said till December anyway it is allowed, it can be deferred, right? Till December.
See, it again, so far as it depends on again how you are registered. Are you registered under the Cooperative Societies Act? Are you registered under the KSRA Act? Because only these two have given this deferment option. KAOA is silent on this, but we can only take help of these two and say that apartment that and all other examples as set in the BAF advisory to say that this is how we took this decision to defer. Because unfortunately, the Karnataka Apartment Ownership Act, though it comes under the Register of Cooperative Society itself, and as well as we have approached Corporation Department, they have not issued any guidance for this particular registrations under this Act.
Vidya, can I just add one provision which is there in
Yes.
KOA? This is Mahadevan.
Yes.
So I've gone through the KOA. So in KOA, there is a provision which says that for construction and urban development, you have to go to the department. For all other queries, you have to go to Register of Societies. So since it is coming under the second set of queries, not relating to construction, so I think we can approach Register of Societies. That is how I interpreted the law.
Okay. So possibly to answer the previous question, you could probably give an application to the ROCS and see whether you can get permission from there for the deferment. Hopefully, you have valid reasons for that deferment.
Vidya, one more point which you had also noted that Cooperative Societies is the competent authority in both the acts.
Yeah.
There as well as here. So he may issue a letter by himself.
Yes. Register of Cooperative Societies, I think right now for all apartment associations is the single responsible, competent authority. So yes, for any significant queries where you see that there is some objections from the members and there is really challenges conducting the AGM virtually or physically, and you do need to seek certain relief, then I would say on a case-to-case basis, those associations should definitely meet up with the ROCS and give them that in application. Any support that is required in terms of connecting to that office or giving a direction or advisory, definitely we at BAF GC, we are ready to support. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vidya.
Yeah, welcome.
If we have no other queries, then can we conclude the session?
Yes, Sandhya, I think there are no more queries.
Any queries, we are all available on the email IDs also or our phone numbers also. If you want, I can just type in my phone number and there is a BAF info ID which can be utilized to send in queries and we will try our best to answer it. Yeah. Thank Thank you, Sandhya, for organizing. Yeah.
Thank you, Vidya, and thank you for all the speakers, Hemant, Srinath, Anand, and Amit, for taking the time off on a Sunday to share your experiences and answer all our queries. I'm sure there'll be more as the days go by. Hopefully, we can reach out to you if we have more queries. Yeah? Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Sandhya.
Okay. Next week we have a session on mediation as a dispute resolution mechanism. Hope to see you there next week on at 11:30. Back to back.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Vidya, for moderating it so well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much for volunteering so much love and energy in this. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.